In this tutorial, I'll be quickly showing you how to create the dry erase boards that you see in the game, which are the surfaces where you can draw on, like the whiteboards or the windows in the beginning. So to create a dry erase board, simply create a mesh. I'm going to simply draw a quad here. You can change the texture to be some transparent texture, for example, or some whiteboard texture. It's completely up to you. Simply tie the selected mesh to an entity and make it a func dry erase board, and you're done. Next, we need something to actually draw with, so simply create a prop dry erase marker, simply place it in, move it a bit. Now, it already has a model, however, it's not the correct one, so simply type in dry erase and we get some of these models. Just change the one to the no cap version, and we don't want the entire thing to be red, so we change the skin to tintable. This makes it so only the tip is tinted red instead of the whole thing. The marker's type is fine. We're going to change it to 2, however. Let's create some other colors. Do make sure that the color are pure blue. I'll change this to 255 and 0 for green, and make sure this also matches. Blue, same color, and completely black. As for the eraser, simply change the model to the eraser model. This does not have a tintable skin. The shape should be an eraser, and we'll make it a bit bigger, let's say 40. Make sure it's white, as well as the marker color. White is the transparent color, so if you draw with white, it basically acts as an eraser. So we hit OK. Let's rotate this a bit, and now we have something to draw with. Now I'm going to get rid of this one, and actually I'm going to go in prefabs and select a whiteboard, which is the exact same except it looks a bit nicer and has a better texture already applied to it. So the next step is to get something actually written on there instead of it being completely empty. So simply go to the particle system. I simply go search for dry erase, and there are some options here which are the ones you see in game. So just select this, and for stamp name, well, first I'm going to drag this in, and we can see it already creates a particle system for us. It doesn't matter if there's a gap between the surface and this, it's still going to be applied on there. It's probably fine. Next, on the dry erase board, simply select as for stamp name the particle system that you want to be pre-applied to the board. Now it doesn't have a name, so let's just give it one. Whiteboard stamp. And there we go, a whiteboard with something already written on there. Next, to create a custom particle system like this, simply create an image of whatever you want written. In my case, I simply wrote something on an actual whiteboard, took an image, and modified it a little bit in Photoshop. In your add-on folder, simply create a folder called Materials if you don't have one already, and just place it anywhere within here. I decided to be a bit more organized and created a few subfolders. So here's my image file. It does not have to be TGA, it can be a JPEG or PNG, both of those should work. Next, you also need to create the texture file. So this file you can just copy. There is a link in the description, and simply change the file name to be the name of your image file. So mine is in Materials Particle Dry Erase Stamp with the name whiteboard example.tga. So just make sure that this is matching. So Materials Particle Dry Erase Stamps whiteboard example.tga. Next, open the particle editor, create a new particle system, And I simply save this again in here, go particles, and I created some subfolders. It doesn't matter where you place them, other than it's in the particles folder. So whiteboard.example. Next, simply copy the settings that I am setting right here. I don't know necessarily what all of these do myself. I've mostly just copied these settings off of whatever Valve did. There's actually a file in the description with all these settings as well, so you can reference that later on. Next, I'm going to change max particles in the base properties to 1, and simply change time to sleep when not drawn to 0.1. I'm going to create an emitter, instantaneous emitter, and set num to emit to 1. As for render, I'm going to go sprite render, hit OK, and then select our texture with bird example of vtext. It should show up here. And remember, just search for your texture. If it comes up with a magenta black checker pattern, it means that something is wrong with your image. Either it cannot find the image, simply make sure that this is correct and you don't have any spelling mistakes. Also, in my case, make sure the image is not too big, as my image was too big, as it was over 3000 pixels wide, in which case you simply scale it down and try again. So I'm going to select this, and here we can see it. I'm going to change some additional settings. Self-illumination amount, I'm going to set this to 1. You may want to play with this setting, try turning it further up. If it's 0, it's just going to be completely black. This is a value you definitely want to possibly play with. This is going to be particle normal align, and an operator, which is going to be remap control point to scalar, hit K. Input control number, I'm going to change to 1. I'm going to change the minimum to 1, and input maximum to 50, and set value method to scale initial value. For initializer, I'm going to have position within sphere random, hit OK. I'm not going to change anything. Next, a normal line to control point. Not going to change anything here either. Next, I'm going to have radius random, and I'm just going to turn this a bit up for now. Let's just set it to 30. Next, I'm going to do rotation random, hit OK, and change both of these to 90, and uncheck randomly flip direction. And there you go. So now I should be able to find it in here, right? Just search for it. Here it is. Select the particle system, drag it over. And now this should be our texture, but as you can see, it's way too big. There's no way to like rotate it or scale it from the particle system. So if you ever find it's too big, again, just reopen it here. I can just pull it down a bit. Rotation random, simply change this from a different value to 90 if it's a rotation problem, and if it's size, simply change this to something else. So I'm going to change this like 16, hit save, and it automatically resizes here. And that's everything. Right. Also, make sure that your particle system has start active disabled. And there you go. Fully custom whiteboard with things already written on it. It can be raised, write something else, different colors. Oh, and there we go. Custom dry erase boards.